All right, let's get into some Bengals talk. The news about the defensive coordinator job had been pretty slow mostly since it was announced that Lou Anarumo was let go. So far, they've interviewed New England Patriots defensive coordinator DeMarcus Covington, along with Las Vegas Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, at least that we know of. Dre Harris of Sports Illustrated reported on Thursday, today as we're recording this, that the Bengals are actually down to Patrick Graham and Notre Dame defensive coordinator Al Golden, who obviously is a bit tied up at the moment trying to coach in the national championship game. Harris also says he considers Golden to be the favorite for the job and believes that's who gets the nod. Golden was asked about it this week. He said he's only focused on the national championship game, didn't give anybody any type of interesting quote about potential NFL jobs. What do you think about Al Golden as a potential replacement for Lou Anarumo?
Yeah, I mean, it makes logical sense. I mean, he was on the Super Bowl staff as linebackers coach, so there's a familiarity there. He's gone and made his bones again as a defensive coordinator with Notre Dame and had great success. But again, he's also got NFL experience, so I think that's a plus. The question I would have for Al Golden is this. He's making really good money at Notre Dame. I don't even know if the Bengals match that money. They might be able to, and maybe they do. The other part to me is, does Al Golden want to be a head coach again? He was a head coach at Temple, had success. That landed him the Miami of Florida job where he didn't have great success. Some of that was due to mitigating issues, but he didn't, and hence kind of was floating around, and the Bengals plucked him and made him linebackers coach. Does he have aspirations then to be a college head coach again? And if he does, and the money is all being equal, wouldn't you stay in the college game at Notre Dame or look for maybe a head coaching job in the next offseason cycle? So I do think he makes a lot of sense, but I also wonder what are his aspirations when push comes to shove.
It feels like, to me, it would be really hard to leave that Notre Dame situation right now. Maybe not as the defensive coordinator, but people were even talking about, like, would Marcus Freeman want the Bears job? And I'm just thinking, like, why? He's going to be able to get almost any NFL job for the next few years that opens up, probably. If you're Marcus Freeman, why wouldn't you just reap the benefit of what you just did by taking Notre Dame to the national championship, get the big payday at Notre Dame, be beloved and be in a great situation for a couple of years, and have easy access to recruits? It's a rare time in college football where you could actually do that.
I get that, but I also, and coaches who are in the business have to deal with this crazy NIL portal stuff that we talked about. But I got to think that wears on you. No matter how young and energetic and successful you are, in a situation to be successful, set up to be successful, I still think that would be an absolute pain in the ass to deal with.
Well, it's got to be a pain in the ass, but he's the one with the most fun version of it right now. He has a huge national brand that people want to be a part of and be associated with already, and you just took them to the national championship. So it's going to be as easy as it's ever been. Plus, the donors are going to be willing to pony up for NIL dollars. I mean, it's one of the few times where recruiting in the NIL era and transfer portal era might actually be fun for a head coach and a staff.
Yeah, maybe. It wouldn't be my cup of tea.
I get that. And then there's this from former defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer, who was with the Cowboys this year, but Mike McCarthy has been fired there, so he's probably going to be looking for a new job. Quote, I still have a lot of fondness for Cincinnati, Mike Zimmer said via Cincy Jungle. The fans were great to me. The ownership is really good. I enjoy Mike Brown. We had a lot of good discussions. I loved my time with the Bengals. We had some good teams there, but I don't know what the future holds. Then later he went on to say, if there were 2 or 3 teams you said you really wanted to go to, Cincinnati and Dallas obviously would be the top 2, Zimmer said. We'll just kind of see where it goes. Either situation is really good. He went on to wrap it up with, I enjoy coaching a lot. My home is in Northern Kentucky. When I was with the Bengals, I bought this property. I'm actually about 25 minutes from the stadium. This is my home. This is my offseason place. I'm just seeing what comes about. Do you think there's any chance the Bengals go back to Mike Zimmer?
Senior defensive consultant. Perfect role. Perfect role.
Do you think they would maybe bring him in to help him find a new defensive coordinator?
No, I mean, Mark Duffner got let go as senior defensive consultant or assistant or whatever the title was. I think that's a perfect one for Mike Zimmer at this stage of his career in life. To his point, he has a farm, if you will,
hunting compound.
Yeah, down in Verona. So that's his off-season home. And I don't think as good as it sounds, Mike was a great defensive coordinator. I don't know if he still is. I think that's the point. But again, for the role, senior defensive consultant, you make a little scratch. You live on your farm now year round because you're coaching for the team in town. It just feels like a perfect role.
Any thoughts on how much longer it'll take for them to come to a decision? Are we just waiting for Al Golden to get done with the national championship game?
Yeah, I think that's it. I would be stunned if we don't have something at some point next week.
All right. Then ESPN's Ben Zolak Solak believes Cincinnati will trade for former fourth overall Atlanta Falcons pick Kyle Pitts. Quote, tight end Kyle Pitts is due $10.8 million in the final year of his deal in 2025 with Atlanta. Can the Falcons get more for him in a trade than they would in a compensatory pick after he leaves in free agency? I think they could, as he has a rosier future on an offense that actually fits his skill set. My prediction, Pitts will get dealt to the Bengals for a day 3 pick, Solak stated. Skinny, what are your thoughts on the Bengals potentially trading for Kyle Pitts?
I don't see that happening. I see them trying to re-sign Mike Gesicki. They still have Drew Sample under contract. Eric All comes back from knee. No, I don't see that. I don't see that taking place.
This kind of out of order here, but we were talking about the defensive coordinator spot. Lou Anarumo is expected to interview with the Colts and the Falcons. He might have already done so for their open coordinator positions. Do you think he's going to latch on with another team as a defensive coordinator?
I do. I honestly do. I think he's well respected around the league. I think most people outside of this fan base and those in the league will see that he really had a lack of talent to deal with, and that was the main issue. And they still remember what he did to Patrick Mahomes and did in that Super Bowl run and did in that AFC Championship run. And again, I think he's well respected enough that, yeah, he does land a job.
All right, we'll wrap up our Bengals segment with this. Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson were both named the 2024 AP All-Pro team. Jamar Chase was a unanimous selection along with his former college teammate Justin Jefferson. Did you think Joe Burrow would have a chance?
No. No, the numbers that both Lamar and Josh Allen put up in both ways are still otherworldly. It sucks because in most years Joe Burrow would be a slam dunk first-team All-Pro pick. But what those guys did both with their legs and arm matches what Joe did.
And the Bengals missed the playoffs.
And the Bengals missed the playoffs. And
it's that simple, I think.
By the way, so I graded every Bengals player. You can go to local12.com to see this. I graded them all for, like an A range, a B range, so you can have B pluses, B minuses, all that stuff. I only gave 2 A pluses. I did not give Trey Hendrickson an A plus. I gave Joe and Jamar A pluses for their seasons. I gave Trey an A only because of he just is mediocre against the run, and that sounds like it's damning, but, I mean, an A is still an A. If you would have given me an A back in the day, give me an A. If you want to put a plus by it, great, but I gave him an A. I want you to guess if you didn't read this piece, Rick. I gave 4 Fs. And one of them is not Jermaine Burton. He got a D minus because he actually did some good things as a kick returner.
Wow.
4
Sheldon
Fs.
Rankins.
That's one. It's funny when we get done with this because I went down the list alphabetically, right? There's a sheet on Bengals game notes. It's a participation sheet of each game that guys participated in and whether or not they played. And it's alphabetical. So I just went right down that sheet in alphabetical order. So it wasn't like I was going, let me find my Fs first, then I find my Ds. It was just like I was bouncing around where I was placing these guys. And they did have some guys that were incomplete, some guys that got hurt, maybe some guys that only got in a game or whatever. 4 Fs. You got one of them.
Man, it gets a bit tougher after that.
Let me just give you the hint. They all come from the same position group.
Oh, okay. So go ahead then and lay it on us.
All right, Lawrence Guy, who came in for 4 games and started 2. I don't even know what the purpose was other than they needed a warm body.
That's unfair to Lawrence Guy. I think he earned a D minus.
Zach Carter, who got waived in year 3 of his rookie contract after making 2 starts this year. And Miles Murphy. Yeah, I mean, it has to be, right? Yep.
Where do they go? What's the deal with Miles Murphy? Where do they go from here with him?
That's a great question. I think it's a matter of does he ever play with an edge? From all accounts, from everybody that's talked about him, great kid, got a good work ethic. They just wonder about does he have an edge/motor in games?
Skinny, you just gave him an F for his entire second season of football as a pro. That means he's essentially not playable. It means he essentially did nothing for them. In his second year,
and he essentially did nothing for them.
That's a real problem. I mean, that's a guy who probably doesn't have it in him, right? Let's be honest.
That's the fear, that he doesn't have it in him. Now, maybe this year he'll get more reps by default because of where the roster may go, and maybe by default him getting more reps, it does turn it up. To your point, I haven't seen anything that's inspiring out of him. I saw a little bit as a rookie. I saw some flashes where, didn't play a lot of snaps, but did some things in the snaps he did play. Nothing overwhelming, but made some plays at 3.5. I mean, this year he gave you absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and the longer you cover sports and you do this stuff and you're around it, you see it. Guys like that show you absolutely nothing. They don't have any production. They don't have it typically. I mean, you can get better for sure. There's development that happens all the time, but you usually show something along the way.
I don't think it's a matter, and I say this when I talk about motor, I don't think it's a matter of want to. I don't think he's lazy. I don't think it's that he doesn't care. I think he has all those. It's just, I don't think he knows how to rev it up. I just don't. And I don't know what it will take to do that.
That's a skill, by the way. I mean, we don't talk about it like that. We act like, if guys either play hard or they're lazy, but having a high motor, being aggressive and physical, that is a skill that certain guys have at a higher level than others. And sounds like he might be one who really lacks there.
Sure, you could stop watching now, but let's be honest, you want to see more. So click some of those links, or better yet, go ahead and tap subscribe. That way you'll catch more content from Local 12.